Yeah, the whole world is at home right now, pretty much, apart from, blessings and gratitude going out to all of the essential workers who are out there holding everything up for us. But so many people are at home. And so how we relate to our homes has become even more important, and it's really brought to the forefront of our attention. And for some people, we're in a relatively comfortable situation and maybe very aware of the kind of blessings within this, the silver lining in the cloud. Whereas other people, I also acknowledge, are in very, very challenging situations right now. And so, we can all, in our hearts, hold space for all that is happening in the world. So some challenges that can be coming up for people very generally is, of course, people may be concerned for their own health and safety and for that of their loved ones, concerned about their income, concerned about their freedom and their human rights, and to really know what the truth is of what's going on. Because we hear all different kinds of news and opinions coming from all different angles, and I think what's really one of the things I think is important at this time is to not to be divided and conquered, not to have kind of petty arguments between ourselves, but to see how we can really come together and support each other at this time. Some of the benefits are that we actually, some of us get the opportunity to slow down, to actually get off that hamster wheel of busyness and to press the pause button, to wake up and smell the roses, to have a look, to, whenever we have, whenever we become more aware of our own mortality, it's an opportunity to really examine our priorities and really come into our hearts and know what really matters to us, our loved ones. How many people perhaps have had a look around their house and realize, we've got so much excess stuff that we don't really need. And, so we can come back to the bare essentials of what really is important to us. And also we get more time. So some of us have more time to spend on looking at our home, maybe cleaning, clutter clearing. Maybe some people normally have a cleaner and now you've got to do the cleaning yourself. And so it's, having that relationship with cleaning the place again. Also with more time for our spiritual practices, or more time to be with your family or to be with your partner. And there can be blessings and challenges within that, I realize. So what is a home? A home for many of us is a kind of sanctuary. It's the place that we want to feel safe enough that we can go to sleep. The place where we share our most intimate relationships. The place where we really want to be able to relax and enjoy our lives. And where we can be naked in all senses of the word. So we put down the masks and the roles that we have to play in our life, as in our work, or in the way we relate to others, and we can have the freedom, hopefully, to just completely be ourselves. And in this 24/7 being at home situation, this can bring up unique situations. So perhaps potentially more arguments, perhaps trying to work at home at the same time as somebody else is having schooling. So there are unique challenges that are coming up at the moment. So a little bit about myself. My name's Sue Holmes. My company is Firehorse, and I grew up in Shropshire. So I had a very rural upbringing, very close to the land. And I became a healer in the early 90s. And then I started teaching at the end of the 90s, and in the early 2000s, I started to do loads of courses and trainings in martial arts, in Feng Shui, in space clearing, in sound healing, shamanism, all kinds of healing practices. And I realized that this is my vocation. So it's been my full-time job since 2005 when I set up my business, Firehorse. And Feng Shui is it's an endless subject, that I've been studying ever since and always will. You know, it's fascinating and it's vast, and you know, it interconnects to everything else that I do. And when it comes down to it, you know, our home has such a strong influence on our lives that, you know, I find it to be really really valuable. So there are many different systems and methods. So each different Feng Shui consultant will have some similar, some ideas that will be similar to other consultants, and some will be different depending on their training, depending on their experience, and depending on the kind of lens that they tend to look through when they examine a building. So, you know, I'm really encouraging you to, yeah, take the ones that resonate, because there's, you know, so many different ways of looking at things. I take what I would describe as a holistic approach. So it's based very much on classical Feng Shui, and then I'm bringing in space clearing and geomancy and nine-star key astrology and some healthy home aspects, such as looking at using natural products and looking at the electromagnetic fields of microwaves within building. So there are some general things to say about the subject. So I think one of the things that I think can be a kind of misleading misconception is that sometimes people will hear a little bit of information and put too much emphasis on that. So somebody might have heard a small piece of information, such as you know, they think they've got a missing corner, for example, in their relationships area. And then that can, you know, they can contact me and be very downhearted and very sad, when actually, you know, there's so many different things that we can look at within a building. And, you know, whether your partner leaves the toilet seat up and you want to put it down, or whether you've got a cactus in one room or not, you know, that they can be very small considerations compared to other aspects, which I'm going to talk about, which are going to be having much more influence. Okay, so there's a style of Feng Shui called form, and that is considered to be, my teacher taught me that it was about 80% of a consultation is about form. So all of the other kind of finer details that we can go into, either intuitively or that we've heard about in a book, or that we find with a compass and all these very complex, sophisticated methods, they only take up about 20% of importance, and 80% of the importance is about form. And sometimes you can make small changes and they can have quite a big effect. So, so even if you feel like, oh gosh, I can't do all the things I want to do, particularly on lockdown when we can't get to all the shops where you might want to buy something or do DIY and things, but there'll always be something you can do. And the good news is that just in general, the more you love your home, the more you make it look and feel beautiful, then the more that's going to bring out the good potential of and the auspicious aspects of the Feng Shui of your home. And it's going to downplay any negative potentials. So just by simply making your house look beautiful, that really goes a long way. So when we put our Feng Shui hats on, it's rather like becoming Sherlock Holmes. So we look at our house with fresh eyes and have a look. If you've ever watched any of the Sherlock Holmes programs, have a look at how you notice every little details and aspects of your house, and see how it's all interrelating. You know, our homes are very much a mirror of ourselves and a metaphor for ourselves and what's going on in our life. So if you see everything as a metaphor and as a mirror, that also means you can not only look at your home and think how you might want to adapt and change things, but it also means that you can design and create a home that reflects who you want to be and the kind of parts of your life that you want to, you know, really amplify. Okay, so I'm going to bring up some slides to show you. Starting off with, first of all, just to consider what is Feng Shui. So the Feng Shui, the words, it's often pronounced Feng Shui, and it means wind and water. So that describes the way that qi moves. So the way that the Chinese describe energy tends to be in a very poetic fashion. And what is Feng Shui? So Feng Shui is the art of influencing our homes, how to influencing the interaction and the relationships between the buildings, the environment, the people that live there, and the cosmos. And why do we do it? We do it to bring out, to create harmony between earth, heaven, and human, and so as to enhance our lives, our health, wealth, and our happiness. Sue Holmes Fire Horse. And first of all, we're going to have a look at this symbol here. So yin and yang. So Feng Shui, it comes from China originally, ancient China, though it can be adapted to anywhere in the world. And its basis is qi, and the word qi is loosely translates to mean the vital energy which is within everything. And if we're looking at how everything is in terms of relationships, everything can be described in terms of yin and yang. So everything is either more yin or more yang, and it's constantly moving and changing. So in relationships with our homes, the places that are going to be more yang are going to tend to be an office or a kitchen or a bathroom. So there's more movement, it's more light, the surfaces are hard, it tends to be brighter, and that's a place that we want it to be where there's action happening. And then in contrast, we have the more yin areas of the house, which are the bedroom and the living room, and they're going to be more still, more restful, more soft in colors, soft in furnishings and fabrics. So they tend to be more yin, so that as we walk into a kitchen or an office, we feel more stimulated, more activated, and we're able to be more active. And when we walk into the bedroom or the living room, we feel relaxed, and we're going to be more able to chill out or to sleep. And by having that contrast, that interplay between yin and yang, that's what brings a place to life. If the whole place is very stark and hard, then there's nowhere to, and moving and open, there's nowhere to relax. And if the whole place is very yin, then there's not enough activity. So it's the interplay that really brings our homes to life. So heaven, earth, and human is one of the ways that we have a look at the qi within a home. So we've got the earth qi, and that, which I'm going to talk about in more detail in a moment, is form. So form is the landscape. Form is the mountains, the valleys, the hills, the rivers, all of the natural landscape around a building. And then in a city, that translates to the buildings around us. And the movement is the roads. So all of the buildings, the trees, the gardens, the roads. So that is the exterior form, which has a very big influence on our homes. And then the interior form is the layout of the house and where the furniture is placed and how that all interrelates. Where the corridors, the doorways are, where's the seating areas. And then, so that's a more obvious, visible form of earth qi. And then the invisible, the more intangible, unseen, is geomancy. So this, as a dowser and a geomancer, this is about, and a shamanic practitioner, this is about the spirit of the land. This is about connecting into the energetic pathways which flow under and around a house. So that's the earth qi. And then the human qi, that's the people who live in the house. So we have a look at what are the needs of those people, what are their personalities, what are their roles within the household, and what are their aspirations, what are their fears. So some of that's more open and some of that will be subconscious. And then going into the more hidden aspect of the human is studying their astrology and seeing what kind of a home, what kind of elements is going to support their particular astrology. And then by looking at heaven's chi, the more yang aspect of that is the sun and the weather. So which is the sunny side of the house, where is it shaded, which is cooler, which is warmer, which gets the wind and the weather, how sheltered is it. And of course that's a different priority depending on what part of the world you're in. You know, in England we want to generally we're looking for the sunshine, and in hot countries they're looking for shady places. And then the more yin aspect of heaven's chi is looking at time. And in Feng Shui, we can analyze it looking at cycles of time, and also looking at astrology. And from a shamanic perspective or a spiritual perspective, our connection with spirit. So I also bring in space clearing and clutter clearing and healthy home, and including things like EMFs. There's other aspects that I bring in as having, which I think are important aspects to our homes and our quality of life. So the 4 spirits of an ideal Feng Shui site. This is the way that the Chinese tend to describe energy, as I said, is more poetic. So they describe a hill behind the house, the tallest hill behind you, that's described as the black turtle. And then we've got the Asia dragon and the white tiger. The dragon being seen as more the masculine side, and it's a higher mountain, and then the white tiger being a lower hill and more white rocky landscape, ideally. But fundamentally having strong support behind you and having a bit of support to the sides, and then having movement to the front. So you can see there's a stream there, and then a small hill the other side, which is called the Red Phoenix. So this is just so important in Feng Shui. And if you only remember one thing from this talk, remember this. Remember this imagery, the imagery of having the big mountain behind you, the small, lower support to your sides, and having movement and a view in front of you. So this is a good Feng Shui site. So you wouldn't tend to build your house right on top of the turtle, or on top of the dragon or the tiger, or you know, right in the river. You're gonna set it back and have it so it's got this protection behind it and the view and the movement in front of it. So if you like, it's a little bit like we've got this sense of support behind us. We're being held with the support of the mountain behind us, and we've got the view and movement in front of us. So in Feng Shui, we talk about having a sitting side to the house and a facing side to the house. So the sitting is where we want the mountain and the protection, and the facing is where we want to have movement and a view. And that's going to obviously differ depending on every unique house and situation, and whether you're in the city or in the countryside. Ideally, you have your bedroom at the back of the house, which is the more yin side of the house, where you're going to be connecting more with nature, and it's going to tend to be quieter and have more of a sense of connecting with being at home. And then if you've got a home office, if possible, or if you're now working from home, it's good to have that in the front of the house if you can, because there's more of a sense of connection with the outside world. So this kind of Feng Shui, this having support behind us and having a view in front of us, is something that we do intuitively. When we go into a restaurant and you look for somewhere to sit, you're going to tend to pick either somewhere where you can sit and have a look out of the window, or you're going to sit in one of those chairs at the back where you've got that nice curve, horseshoe shape of support behind you, looking out into the restaurant or the cafe. You're not going to tend to sit right by the door where there's a draft, or right by the kitchen where it's noisy, and you're not going to sit with you're not going to tend to feel so comfortable having your back to the room, because you can't see who's behind you. And that really, really taps into our basic kind of instincts of fight or flight, that we want to have support and we want to see what's going on in front of us. And this also comes into play when we're in bed. So when you're in your bed, you want to have this support behind you and the view in front of you and the small hills either side with your bedside tables. So as much as possible, you know, the feng shui of our bedrooms is very important. We spend something like almost a third of our lives there, and it's very important for our health that we really relax and we regenerate. So if at all possible, have your bed with a solid wall behind the head of the bed. And then you want to be looking out into the room so that if you're sat up in bed, you can clearly see the windows and the door, and you haven't got your head right next to the door, and you haven't got the window behind the head of the bed. And as you can see, that, you know, the colours are going to tend to be nice and relaxing colours and nice soft materials on the bed, so it feels nice and snuggly and inviting. And this is also true of a desk. It's actually very hard to find a picture of a desk online that's got good feng shui. The picture on the right, you can see, which is what people often do with the idea of saving space, is to have the desk pushed up against the wall, and then they're sitting facing the wall. So their back is to the room. So the back, you won't feel so comfortable because your back's to the room. And if you're facing the wall, it's very uncreative because you've got just a solid wall in front of you. So in the picture, I mean, at least they've got, you know, they can see their post-it notes. But if you look at the picture on the left, they've got the desk beside the window. And this is a really good place to be because you've got natural light falling to the side of the screen. And you can, when you're sat at your desk, hopefully there's a solid wall behind the chair. So you've got a solid wall behind you, you've got the sunlight, natural light coming in onto your desk so you can see what you're doing. And when you're looking up for inspiration, you can look out of the window, you can look out at the garden, or you can look out at the trees in the street, or you can look up at the sky and look at the clouds. So there's a sense of space and a sense of view to help bring inspiration. And directly opposite you on that wall, if there's a wall opposite to where you're sat, this is a nice place to have a picture of a really inspiring view, or to have your vision board, or something that you know, you look at and you kind of, as you're dreaming into, you know, being creative, whatever you're doing, you'll feel inspired by the view. And also, ideally, you sit not only with a wall behind you, but in the corner that is diagonally opposite to the door into the room. If you're sat in the corner that is diagonally opposite to the doorway, then you're in the power position for that room. So that's a good place to be. Again, support and view. And this is also what you do in your living room where possible. So where you sit behind your sofa, having a solid wall, and then looking towards the view. So perhaps you've got the window to your side, you've got the fireplace, the TV. So you've got your view in front of you, and you've got a solid wall behind you. So you feel really nice and supported. So another way that we have a look at relationships in Feng Shui is by using the 5 elements and the 5 element cycle. So as you can see, each element has a relationship with the other elements. So as the arrows move in a clockwise direction, they're describing what is considered a productive or a creative cycle. So starting in the bottom left, if we've got water, water allows the plants to grow, so it nourishes the wood. And then wood feeds the fire, so the fire burns. And then the fire becomes ashes and goes into the earth. And then the earth, metal ores grow in the earth. And then water forms as condensation on metal. So that is a constructive cycle. And if we go in the other direction, we'll see how they weaken or use up that energy. So this is a more gentle way that we can reduce, if there's an energy, one of the elements is quite strong in a certain area and we want to reduce it, rather than using the controlling element. So for example, if there was too much fire and we wanted to reduce the fire, rather than adding water where there's going to be a fighting relationship, putting the fire out, we can add a little bit, some earth, and then the earth will tend to decrease the strength of the fire. So, you know, that's a more gentle way of working with the 5 elements to reduce an element. And another way we can work with the elements is bringing harmony. So if you've got 2 very strong elements in a room, so for example in the kitchen where you tend to have fire and water, so if you've got your stove right next to your sink, by adding some wood energy, painting the wall green or adding an upright plant, whatever makes sense in that area of the house, that can help to harmonize those elements. So we're always seeking to create more harmony. So the elements are not taken literally. They are used to describe a certain kind of energy, and they can be represented using certain colors and certain shapes. And so the water energy is flowing and describes progress, and also represents wealth and new opportunities coming to us. And the wood energy suggests growth, and that's represented by tall upright shapes and upright plants, like a money plant, for example. And then the fire energy, this represents really being very seen, our fame, our reputation, and this is using fiery energy. So star shapes and red colors, images of the sun, that kind of thing. And the earth energy is it's represented by low rectangles and shapes and earthy colors, and that's very about nurturing and about support. And then the metal energy is the harvest and the joy, and it's also to do with organization and structure, and that tends to be represented by circles and metallic colors. So the way that the 5 elements are put into the house is in the form of a flexible template called the Bagua. And as you can see, there are different trigrams, there are different elements that are, and so many different things that are associated with different areas of the Bagua. And the center is not considered a location, actually, but it's called the Tai Chi, and this corresponds to health. So this is why in Feng Shui that they like to keep the center open. So if you look at the center of your house and the center of every room and the center of your garden, it's always good if it's possible to keep this open. So we don't want to plonk a table right in the center of the room. If possible, have it to the side or beside the sofas and things, rather than having it a big heavy table plonked right in the center. You know, if you're going to have a bird bath or a statue in your garden, rather than place it right bang in the center of the garden, have it moved to the side and keep the center open. And as we move through this area, it brings life to the whole of the space. And you can also see that the southwest, this corresponds to marriage and relationships. So that can be an area that you might like to focus on if you're wanting to attract more a relationship into your life, or bring more harmony into your existing relationship. So the element here is earth. And so, you know, by adding a little bit of fire, that can nourish your relationships and help to activate them and keep them alive. And then if we look at this wealth area here, so this is actually wood element. And so by bringing some water into the southeast, this can help to stimulate our wealth, our prosperity and our abundance. So these are, you know, very generalistic, but they're things that we can work with in a DIY basis. So, and I think that, you know, with a good intention and a strong intention, it can be very effective. If you have a complex, you know, in full consultation done with a consultant, they're likely to go into more specific recommendations for your specific house and for you specifically because of the unique house. But these are kind of general tips that can be applied to any home. And we can make it very simple and look at it just in terms of these areas. And some people, rather than using the directions, they use a type of Feng Shui which analyzes the areas according to where the door comes in. I don't use that method myself. It's called 3-door gate. And they would always place the door on the side where it is knowledge, careers, benefactors. But, you know, if that appeals to you and that works for you, then, you know, go for it. And then here is a Feng Shui compass. That's my Feng Shui compass. So you can see that the areas can be divided into incredibly tiny sections, going into a great deal of detail as well. So I'd like to talk a little bit more in detail about specific areas in the house. So focusing in on health. Different ways that we can enhance the health of our home. So one thing that I like to do is to take off my outdoor shoes when I come in. So that is a ritual where I don't want to tread any of the dirt or the chemicals that I might have stepped on out in the streets and kind of tread that all over my house. So when I come in the house, I take off my outdoor shoes and I put on my slippers, or, you know, I'm barefoot depending on the weather. So I think that's a nice way to keep your home, have a sense of sanctity about your space, as well as keep it more physically clean. It's good to have healthy plants in your house. That brings a sense of nature into the house. And as you care for your plants, you're also, you know, you're caring for yourself, and, you know, you can have a nice relationship. You know, I live on my own. My plants are my friends. They're my housemates. And, you know, it feels very, very nice relationship that we actually have. If you don't have connection to a garden or an outdoor space, or maybe you're living in a flat many floors up, then a way that you can ground yourself is by getting a grounding sheet. So there's a company called groundology.co.uk. I'm sure there's many others. They sell these grounding mats. You can have them underneath your bed. You can have them underneath where you meditate, or where you do any of your spiritual practices for clients, healing sessions. So it's important to keep other electrical things away from them, but you plug them in and then you don't switch the plug on. So they just connect to the earth. And they, you know, people report feeling really so much more energy from them. And sleeping, you know, that they really help their sleep. So those are the kind of experiences people have reported. It's good to have images of nature if you don't actually have plants, or you find that you're not very good at keeping plants. Just by having pictures of nature in your space can be very conducive to supporting your health. And fresh air, open the windows, get some fresh air through. Have a look at your kitchen. Does it feel nice and clean, nice, like a nice place to eat? Prepare food, because your kitchen is really, in some ways, it's the heart of the home. That's where we produce our food. So it has an important impact on our lives. So in the south and in the east. So that's where we want to have something metallic. So it could be a metal ornament, something, particularly something that symbolizes to you, represents strength, support, good luck. Those are the kind of things that we want to have. Something metallic in the south and in the east. So we also want to bring out a sense of more protection in our lives. So protection, again, looking at that strength, that mountain of support behind us and to the sides. So if you don't have something like a building behind you, then you can also plant a hedge, plant some trees if that's possible. If it's not possible to add that, you could have a picture of a mountain on your wall, say behind your head, so that gives a sense of support and protection behind you. If you have a solid hedge or a solid fence and a gate around your property, that helps to hold the chi in, and holding in all of the good chi, the positive chi that can then feed into your house, and it helps to give a sense of protection from fast-moving traffic, for example. Have secure doors and windows, just practical things to give more of a sense of protection. And I like to use protected plants, so evergreen plants and things like holly, nettle, mugwort. They're all plants that we can have as protectors, and rosemary, have them as protectors in the front garden or in your hanging baskets or whatever you've got space for outside your door. Bay trees are seen as being good to have just outside the very front of the door because they sweeten the chi as it enters your house. And talking a bit about relationships, so we have, if you want to bring more harmony to your relationships, we want to put things that represent a pair. So it could be a pair of swans, it could be a picture of lovers entwined, it could be a picture of you and your beloved on a great holiday you had together, or your wedding photograph. So those are things that are good to have. You might like to make an altar in your bedroom, an altar to relationships, for example. I'll talk a little bit more about altars in a moment. And some enhancements to the wealth area. So as I said, you can bring water into the southeast. If you have room for a water feature, you could have that in your southeast, as long as it's clean and it's pleasing. You enjoy the sound and the sight of it. And you can even have them in your garden as an exterior, an exterior cure, as we sometimes call them. So, and ideally having the water flowing towards your house, so that seeing that wealth flowing towards you, having clean water and the sunshine sparkling on the water. So I think we're running out of time, so I'm just going to talk about altars now. So I'm just going to come back and just show a little slide here. Oh yeah, this is just showing about the front doors and how the front doors are important, because this is how we receive chi from the outdoor world. So this really also relates to wealth, how we receive chi from the outside world, how we interact with the outside world, making it really obvious where your doorway is. So having it either having a porch over it, or having plants either side, having steps leading up to the door, making your doorway look really auspicious, making sure there's nothing that needs fixing or mending, so it looks really, really attractive and really stands out that this is the doorway and it's going to attract energy to it. So a little word about altars. I think altars are a really powerful thing to have in a house. You can see I've got mine behind me now. And you can have them in your garden, you can have them in your house. And it's just it's a focal point. You know, you can have one in the bedroom for love, you can have one in your living room for your family, particularly at the moment where some of us, you know, we don't have, we're not able to see our loved ones or our friends. So you can have an altar where you've got pictures of your family, pictures of your loved ones there, so that they're with you. And this is a really good place to light a candle, to say your prayers, to meditate, you know, whatever is meaningful to you to do in front of your altar. And basically, the more we love our home, the more it's going to love and support us. So where there's love in the home, there is joy in the heart. And that's me again. That's my website, firehorse.uk.com. So Yeah, so creating an altar, if you just find a shelf or a table and you clean it, place a cloth on it, put a candle on it, if you've got any crystals, any flowers, and it's something that you can get all the kids to join in with if they want to get creative and create an altar all together, something that represents whatever you're wanting to pray for in your life. So whether that's a family connection, whether that's prayers for the world, whether that's prayers for yourself, it's something that you can have on your altar. And yeah, it could be about abundance, about love, or about family, or about all of those things. And I see the altar as well. It's a place that's a real anchor. It's an anchor for the whole house. It's where I can sit and really connect to the earth and connect to spirit. So just if you like for a moment just to join me in a practice, just to very briefly, but a practice of alignment that brings us into synchronicity. And I think in these times, it's very important for us to have the support from our home and to be able to sit with our altar and to come into a sense of alignment. So just taking a couple of deep breaths, just to relax for a moment. And then bringing our breath to the belly. Breathing to the belly, nice natural deep breaths, feeling your belly coming out and in with each breath. Breathing to a point that's just beneath the navel and in the center of your body. And then as an act of intention, just dropping down on a line of energy that runs from our belly and goes down and out through our body and into the ground. And just see it's a bit like dropping an anchor, that this line drops down and goes deep down into the ground, like a tree root, deep into the earth, through the layers of earth and rock and lava, down to the core of the earth. And then on an in-breath, drawing energy up to our belly. And then sinking down on the out-breath, down into the earth, and then drawing the energy up again on the in-breath to the belly. So calling in, if you like, the spirit of a tree or the spirit of a mountain that you have a special connection with. Could be an oak tree, could be Mount Ben Nevis, whichever mountain it is, calling in that presence to help us to feel really grounded, really rooted, really connected to the earth, strong and present. And then let this follow the line that comes from the belly, from the center of the earth through your belly, and follow it up your body and let it move up in a straight line and come to rest with one hand on your heart and one hand just above it. So on your heart and the soul seat, and just feeling as you breathe here and breathe to the center of your body. So feeling the light and the love of your heart and soul beaming out in all directions like a shining star. The truth of your heart and your soul. Beaming like a shining star. And then the line that comes from the center of the earth through your belly and through your heart and soul continues up and out through your crown, through the top of your head, to the edge of your aura, about 1 meter or 3 foot above your head. And then out through your aura and all the way up through the roof and through the sky, traveling upwards, following it just with a line of intention as it travels up through the sky, all the way out to the sun, and if you like, all the way out to the galactic center, all the way out to source. Making that connection, then traveling back down with the light of consciousness, with the light of the sun, traveling back down that line through space, through the sky, coming in through the roof and back down into your body. So feeling ourselves suspended on this line that flows from the center of the earth all the way out to the center of the galaxy and the sun, moving through our heart and soul, holding us, earth, human and heaven in synchronistic alignment. Synchronistic alignment. So Just feeling how good that feels, to feel that we're grounded, we're connected to the earth, we're connected to the heavens, and we're filled and surrounded by light, and then it meets in the heart. And so if we open our eyes now, just feeling that sense of connectivity, that sense of connection between the earth, between the heavens, meeting in the heart, and really, encouraging everybody to really be in their hearts, come back to their hearts, their own truth, whatever that is, to be in our own individuality, our own uniqueness, as well as connecting with others in the community. So many blessings to you all, and lots of love from me to you, from my heart to yours. And look forward to seeing you again, friends, new friends, and many blessings to you all.